Hello everyone, TechJax here. This quick video is just to show you how to create a quick bootable USB drive in case you needed to do anything with a bootable USB drive, install an operating system or anything like that. And in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate that really quick. What I want to go ahead and do is actually show you guys that I do have a USB already attached to the system, and it just has wallpapers on it, nothing big time. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and launch the command prompt as an administrator. And there's a program that we can actually start in command prompt, and it's called Diskpart. And Diskpart allows us to make some configuration changes in terms of the USB drive we have on our system and make it bootable. So in order to go ahead and do that, one of the first things that we would want to check and see is what actual disk that we have available to us to select, especially in environments in which you didn't have a graphical user interface and you couldn't see the lovely icon of the USB drive and the assigned letter to it. So in those scenarios, you can use a couple of different list characters, list volume, list partition, list disk. If you list volume, you'll get a list of actual volumes that you have on your system. One of which we can see is our USB-Z drive. It's formatted to a FAT32, is removable. And to confirm that it's FAT32, which you don't have to do, but with NTFS, obviously, there's a security mechanism that is a part of that technology, which allows us to actually encrypt and set permissions. So we don't have a security tab here, so we do know that it's a FAT32 drive. We do have some content already on the drive, so what we want to go ahead and do is list the disk that we have and that we can currently select. As you can see, we have a 60 gigabyte drive, which is going to be our local C disk, which has our operating system on it. And we have our disk 1, which is our 14 gigabyte USB drive. I'm going to go ahead and select that USB drive because that's the drive that we want to make our configuration changes to. And to select that drive, you use the command select disk and you choose the disk number that belongs to that disk. Under the pound symbols, we see that we have disk 1 that's allocated to that 14 gig drive. So we're going to select disk 1, and we get a return that says that we have selected that particular disk. And we can always go ahead and list disk again, and you can see now that there's a asterisk next to disk 1 that lets us know that that's the one that we have selected. So now that we have that particular disk selected, we want to clean that drive of any previous content. In order to do that, you use a simple command clean. Once you clean that, you can see here that the drive is no longer able to be mounted and entered. We're getting a return saying that a disk needs to be put into the F drive or whatever F is, because it doesn't know what it is anymore. So that gets us to the step of cleaning the USB drive. We don't have anything any longer that's on there anymore. So the next step that we want to actually do is create a primary partition. And in order to do that, you can use the command create par pri, and that's shorthand for partition primary. In this scenario, we're going to go ahead and type everything, but going forward, you can use the shorthand in order to actually get this mechanism to actually initialize. So we've created a partition, a primary partition for this USB drive. Now what we need to do is actually format this USB drive, because we still couldn't access it if we wanted to. If we tried to access it via the GUI, we're going to get a prompt to actually format the drive, but we're going to go ahead and format it via the command line. And in order to format it from the command line, all we do is go ahead and we type format, and FS for file system equals NTFS, and we're going to set that to quick. And that's going to do a quick format of the particular USB drive that we have selected, and it's going to set it to an NTFS file system, and it's going to do a quick format. And that takes, anywhere between 10 to 20 seconds, depending on, I guess, variables in your system. So as you can see, we have a little bit of changes here. The removable disk now is showing up. There are a couple of other options that we can go ahead and do from Diskpart. Diskpart has plenty of options that allow us to do certain things, like if we wanted to rename or reassign the drive letter, we can reassign that. So with that, we go to assign and we do a space letter equals, and we can put whatever letter we wanted to do. But if you do that, then you might run into situations in which, you know, you're going to have to keep up with things like that. It's not a big deal. But as you can see, it went from F to Z, and we did that from the Diskpart in the command line. The only other thing that we would have left to do is to actually set this partition in this USB drive to be in an active partition so that we can boot from it. And by using the active command, we went ahead and we set that, and we're going to go ahead and exit the Diskpart program and exit command line, and we now have a bootable USB drive that if we wanted to actually copy over content or data from like a Windows 7 or ISO or WAM file, we can copy all that content over, plug that in, boot into it via the BIOS, and actually start installing Windows via the USB drive. Thank you.